Hello, folks.
So the title of this video, yeah, we know, water's wet. But I actually am going to be ranting in this video. This is something I am
Does she have
super
fingerless
passionate
gloves,
about.
or is that
This
just like
video
a
is going
weird
to
thing
be in
going on?
regards to the huge fiasco between J.K. Rowling and the trans community. I'm putting that in quotation marks for a specific reason. I'll tell you why in a second. I wasn't originally going to do a video on this topic, but I am seeing a whole lot of BS on social media right now, and I feel like, damn it, let me just weigh in. And there's some things I need to get off of my chest. Not these though, they're too expensive. Now, this huge fiasco that is officially labeled J.K. Rowling as transphobic
Excuse me.
stemmed from these three tweets by Rowling. And I'm just gonna go ahead and state my opinion before I even read these tweets. I, as a trans woman, did not find these offensive or transphobic at all.
Okay.
Literally at all. Now, if you're of the opinion that J.K. Rowling is transphobic or these tweets are transphobic, I asked you just for a second to really analyze them with me because I, as a trans woman, cannot find the transphobia. So these tweets read as, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. So far, I'm not seeing any transphobia. This is all true. Biological.
This is an issue, Blaire White, because the only thing that J.K. Rowling can actually attribute to what she believes in her weird belief system and in her manifesto that she wrote on her site is that there is a need to classify people based upon their what you all refer to as biological sex. This is not like a real term, really. It might be a substitute for another term, which is I believe is a birth assigned sex. But it's not really a technical term. Biological sex. That basically just means what sex you were given by the doctor at your birth, which is generally referred to by mostly as by like sexual organs, but there are cases where you can't just say intersex. It's just two genders. Like not that's not even like correct, or two sexes. That's not even correct. Like you have intersex that represents a much bigger portion of our country than many people understand. Actually, 2% of our country, which I know you might be saying like, well, proportionally that's not a lot. Well, that's like 6 million people, at least, just in the United States. So that's a lot of people. And that's just what's reported. So and it's funny because most times doctors just make a split decision to say if for those intersex people if they're going to be male or female, which I mean that's kind of weird. But I mean I say this because you're diving into a concept that talks about talking about sex instead of gender, which is kind of a moot point. A lot of terminology and what we've learned from science over the years. I mean, you could just refer to what was it, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and what he was talking about as far as sex and gender and how we define that, and how those concepts from back then when he was making those things in like the 90s, like how they changed over time and how things were incorrect back then that are different now of what we know and what we've learned about the human body. um so, and it's also a weird thing to try and like classify somebody based on their birth sex instead of like what is their gender as of right now, or like there's just a lot of weird conversations to be had here. So this is one of those turfy conversations that comes up, which is why people have an issue with what she says, is because they recognize her as a turf. The main problem that people across many communities have with J.K. Rowling when she brings this up is because she is excluding transgender people from her community and from her self-identification as a feminist, which would classify her as a turf. That is the reason why people have a lot of issues with her. You're also like diving into a different conversation for the most part of this video, but I'll let you continue to speak.
Sex is real. I know that there are certain segments of the population that do not believe that biological sex is real. I know that there is a very harsh stereotype on the trans community that we are science deniers and that we don't believe in biological sex. I am biologically male. Cue the title. That's just a fact. I am a trans woman. If you are a trans
That's because like a doctor told you that. That's because a doctor like decided that. Like, I mean, yeah, like you could, they just said like, well, based off, what sexual organ I see right here, like that's what you are. I mean, and that's cool and all, but like, are you just gonna change like how you identify yourself based off of what your birth reproductive parts are? you know, if somebody like physically transitions as well, like, are you going to change how you feel then? Like, what is y'all's definition of what somebody's actual gender is? Because J.K. Rowling in her manifesto is talking about how she doesn't want people that identify as trans women to be included in her charity events and different communities that she has for women. So she wants to segregate women from trans women with the funds that she gives to her different organizations. And she has a huge amount of money. Some of that was medical stuff as well, which was concerning a lot. So that's kind of the big issue people have with this. It's a weird turfy argument that doesn't really need to be there.
Trans man, you are biologically female. That's kind of the whole point.
And I don't know anybody who identifies somebody as, what was your birth genitalia? That's just fucking weird.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if there was no starting point, which was being biologically male, why would I ever need to transition?
Why do you fucking care?
Anyways, the idea that women like me, who've been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and have lived consequences, is nonsense. And I completely agree. What she's basically communicating here is that, like, yes, there are definitely similarities between the struggle of trans women and women in general, I suppose. There's definitely parallels, but it's not wrong to make distinctions where there may be differences. I, as a trans woman, have no idea what it's like to grow up and, you know, have your period, or to be socialized as a girl, as a child. That's just not part of my experience.
But like, okay, when you're even talking about like having periods and stuff like that, like there are women that don't ever have their periods. There are some women that also have medical conditions that prevent them from having periods. And some people that if they don't get it's not natural with their bodily function because their body does not go through periods sometimes. So like it's just weird how like you're just defining this weird thing. It's like, well, she doesn't bleed from her pussy, so she's not a female in my eyes in any sense of the word. It's like y'all have some like weird definitions of what y'all want to say is like a female or male. It's like, what the fuck? I don't get this. It's so weird.
Experience, and I can't pretend that it was. The world did not start recognizing me as a woman until I was 20 years old when I transitioned. So that's 20
recognized
years
you as
of
a woman, so people are actually recognizing you as a woman. J.K. Rowling is not recognizing you as a woman. She said in her manifesto she doesn't recognize you as a woman. She separates you as a separate from women by being your own transgender community, which excludes you from being classified as a woman, which has many issues that can arise from that. If you take just the example I gave you of what J.K. Rowling wants to do with her money, as far as like helping people, she wants to not give resources to transgender women specifically, which is a little concerning. Then you would also get into the rights of those people, which is now being argued among the court system right now. So the court system right now has just ruled that employers can actually deny transgender people medical insurance and medical help if they choose to because of their because of identifying as a transgender person or however they identify themselves. And so that's a bit concerning. That's somebody like directly taking rights away from you. So that's an issue that comes up from these conversations leading to terrible arguments. And the people that were actually arguing for those court cases, the one in particular that I was talking about, they cited J.K. Rowling and her manifesto as to why they should not enforce employers to have to cover all employees regardless of sex, gender, whatever the fuck it may be. So that's kind of like where the issues come up with. A turf like J.K. Rowling has directly hurt the transgender community in that scenario. So that's why that community, for the most part, hates her guts right now. I don't know why you would defend her though, but okay.
Experiences that I cannot relate to because I did not.
I would just give you like a comparison here. If some fucker did anything to take away my ability to get the necessary medical stuff that I need in my life, based off of some absurd thing like the color of my skin or my sexual orientation or something like that, that motherfucker, tell me, it's on sight, son.
Grow up a girl. Why exactly is it transphobic to say that? She continues to say, I
Why
respect
are you
every trans
discussing that?
person's
What
right to live
the
any
fuck?
way that feels
What does
authentic
that have to do with anything, Blaire? You're so fucking stupid.
and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say so. 100%. So, what I'm confused about, and here's the biggest thing, you guys, go look for yourself. In the thread and all the replies to J.K. Rowling, it is almost exclusively trans people agreeing with her and non-trans people wanting to play Captain Save-A-Ho, White Knight, and be offended on our behalf. Because despite the stereotype of trans people being science deniers, I don't know any trans women or men who deny that biological sex is a thing, that they are biologically a sex that is different from the way they present and are represented to the world. That's the whole point. I do know, however, a whole lot of trans allies, right, who feel the opposite on behalf of us and think that's the right thing to do. George Takei.
So just as an FYI, like, she doesn't anywhere in her tweets go over any tweets that are disagreeing with J.K. Rowling, because don't want to show that anywhere, because then you see the ratio on it. But now, but she can quote any other tweet that she wants to. She could put the screencasts for those.
Who
It's kind of funny how that happens.
feel the opposite
I don't know.
on behalf
I just showed
of
you
us
just
and
a
think that's
handful
the
of
right thing
tweets
to
on
do.
there.
George
Go look for
Takei is a
yourself.
really good example, attacking J.K. Rowling, saying, when you defend so-called biological sex, you sound scientifically ignorant and you elevate transphobia. How? When did believing that trans
Because this isn't based on any. There's no science behind what y'all are preaching. Like, you can't even say it in this video. The only thing that you say in this video, Blaire, is your feelings. You're just spurging on your feelings here. And that's what all you have to say about this. About a tweet, about your feelings, and that's your only argument, and you say, look it up. When somebody looks it up, like me, I was there the first day too, so it's not like things changed between now and then. Barely anybody was agreeing with her, I should say, besides TERFs, which was not a lot. So I don't know what to say to you besides you're a
gender people
grifter.
are valid mean denying science? How is the concept of biological sex ignorant? What are you talking about? The funniest part to me is that trans people do not agree with this. Mars, a prominent trans guy YouTuber, said, do us transsexuals a favor and sit this one out. You're embarrassing not only yourself, but us too. That was in response to George Takei. You have Buck Angel, who responded and got way more likes than George, by the way, saying, I disagree with you. I am a transsexual man. Transitioned from a woman to man 25 years ago. I am and will forever be a biological female. How is this so hard to understand? If I was not a biological female, then I would not be transsexual. It's dangerous to discount biology. 100%. Why are you fighting this fight on our behalf and furthering and perpetuating the stereotype that we are science deniers? Y'all can.
So all of those transgender people that are tweeting on J.K. Rowling's tweet over here, all of you, all of these people right here, all of you, all of you, all of you, all of you, all of you. I'm sorry, how many? I believe it was 45,000 comments to this one. Yeah. 45,000 replies at least, and still going. I have nothing but loathing and contempt for you. Obviously sex is real, but sex is not binary, it's not absolute. Let's see. I have been baffled by this tweet for days. No one is erasing the concept of sex. Gender and sex are entirely separate. No one is validating what it means to be a woman. The only thing done here was make trans people feel illegitimate. I mean, I don't know what to say to you. Hey, JK, as you claim to support trans rights in this historical moment where we are globally discussing the impact of white supremacy on black people, please share some of your $650 million mega wealth with this charity. I mean, these are, you know, these people, I mean, I could go on their profile and, you know, they got the pride flag. I mean, I can only assume. I mean, maybe she's saying that like the transgender community does not consist of a lot of these people, and that she's seen the very, 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 very small amount of people. That's not even true, because a lot of these people are self-identifying as transgender people. So it's just fucking retarded. Let's see. I'm ashamed as a trans woman who grew up on your books to have ever called myself a fan. I mean, this person just doesn't exist. to Blaire White. I don't know. We have one of those scientists that you're trying to say about the science. They're disagreeing with you too. Who am I supposed to believe here, Blaire? I don't understand. What's happening? What's happening, Richard?
Can choose to deny science, but don't do it on our behalf. You know, there's this stereotype that trans people just can't handle anything, that we're just so emotionally weak and we deny science and, you know, we're just perpetual victims.
Honestly, I can't imagine who is like enforcing that image. I can't imagine. Could it be like the person that platformed that stupid Jesse person that was hated by the transgender community, gives them a platform so that they can speak their hatred and be a poor representation of the transgender community, so you can put them down and try to paint the whole community as crazy like this, because that's the woke left and the woke transgender community, and don't worry about them. They're not the good ones like me. Yeah, I can't imagine who would have pushed that narrative out there. I have no idea. It's clear you never worked a day in your life as a manager of anything, and you don't understand the consequences past your most immediate actions.
I don't even think we did that. I don't even think we created that stereotype, because all the trans people I know are some of the strongest people I've ever met. They're people that have gone through a lot, people who have fought really hard to be themselves, and they're not offended by the concept of biological sex. They don't, you know, faint over people talking about biology.
Is something
However,
you're
a lot of trans allies
for the most part.
And
this isn't a real
who like
term.
to fight for us without ever asking
but
us.
I need to show you this. This is not like me just making this up. I mean, this is like, stop using phony science to justify transphobia. I mean, that's a blog. Sex and gender identity. What's assigned sex, aka biological sex, because that's the term that's given to it now. Is actually assigned sex is a label that you're given at birth. So there's this is like a term that's not really like out there that much. You know, it's like a new term that's come up now. You know, so. This is defining it as the biological character. I can't even. Where did it go? Wait, what? Hold on. I'm sorry. I think it just redirected us here. I'm sorry. Related to redirected from biological sex. Okay, so it's not like even a term in the dictionary. It's just taking you to sex instead of biological sex, because it's not like biological sex itself. It's not really a term. It's just something that was kind of made up. Just say like sex. I don't know why you are like doing this. This is so fucking weird.
How we feel, love to be offended by it. And you know, the narrative is that J.K. Rowling is just so hateful for talking about this and just such a hater and so bigoted. And then you have responses like this one from Ben O'Keefe responding saying, "This woman is complete scum. Shut the fuck up, you transphobic fuck. You don't know or love any trans people if you won't even acknowledge their existence. Thank you for ruining the books of my childhood. Just stop talking. We know you're a TERF. You don't need to keep doing this." When did she deny trans people's existence because she has a different opinion about the existence of trans people? An opinion that trans people, for the most part, hold.
Based off of your my feelings disagree with you.
Now, Ben O'Keefe, shut the up yourself. I just don't know how people can.
Blaire, I don't know if you heard this term, but there is a term by my friend Ben Shapiro, and he says facts
that are positive when they're
not
responding
care
saying, "Shut the
about
fuck up,
your
you
feelings."
Honestly, I
maybe
feel
you
like
should look
more and
into
more
that.
the
I don't
world
know.
is like,
I don't know.
even more so than divided into left and right, conservative and liberal, the world is definitely right now divided into people who can have a meaningful, nuanced conversation about sensitive issues.
Meaningful, nuanced conversation about the issue. Would that be including a video in which you talk about fucking tweets and not about any of the concepts talked about in the tweets? And you're referring to the two tweets that are against somebody and trying to say, well, this is the representation of the transgender community that I believe is valid? Don't listen to the thousands and thousands of other people on J.K. Rowling's tweets that I don't want to show you either, because that would make me look bad. That's nuanced conversation for me. I like that. Thank you. Continue, please.
And people who can't. That's it. That's the division I see these days. And listen, I'm not going to say that all trans people believe in the concept of biological sex and that there's no science denying trans people, because that's clearly not true. Clearly there are trans people who do.
Explain the science, please. I would like you to explain the science behind this. Can you please, in more detail? I am an ignorant person. I would like you, if you could, please. I don't know. Could you explain this to me? Because I don't know the science that you're discussing. You haven't referred to any science. You just threw the term biological sex and hoped that that landed somewhere. I don't know. Like, some people were born with a pussy, some people were born with a dick, and some people were born with both, some people with nothing. Like, some people were just like, what the fuck, intersex? I don't know. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, what do I take away from that information? I don't know. Like, I think we should just treat people based upon what gender they identify as, because at the end of the day, like, when it comes to giving somebody rights, everybody should be equal anyway. So, like, why are you fucking worried about this shit? It doesn't matter. Fucking people, like, the whole thing with this, right, is that fucking J.K. Rowling is over here pissed off and worried that, like, people are gonna go into, like, the changing room. Here we go. So I want trans women to be safe. At the same time, I do not want to make nattal girls. I don't know what that word means. I don't know if it was like a misspelled or if it's a term I don't know about. Anyway, when you throw open the doors of bathrooms and changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, and as I've said, gender confirmation certificates may now be granted, granted without any need for surgery or hormones. Could you imagine somebody like requiring, like the government requiring, like, hey, I'm not gonna do what you want me to do unless you like inject a bunch of fucking hormones into your system. All right, that's the requirement before I change a letter on your fucking driver's license or give you a certificate. Fuck. This is a great argument that's being made right now. Then you open the door to any and all men who wish to come inside. I'm sorry, but what's to stop somebody from doing that already? What's to stop somebody that identifies as a man that's already a pervert or weirdo or somebody that's trying to rape somebody from going into the women's changing room? Or the women's bathroom? Newsflash, these people just want to take a shit or change. Like, they don't want to fucking go in there and rape people. Even though your fucking article here is always talking about how you think that trans people are just a bunch of pervy people that want to go and rape people in changing rooms. The fuck? First off, nothing's stopping like a weird rapey woman or man from going to the opposite bathroom and taking a shit in their bathroom right now. Nothing's stopping them. Nothing. Do you think somebody's actually gonna go in there and stop? Or do you think like some weirdo, crazy, like rape person that's gonna rape somebody is gonna like be there and not like scope out the scene before they go into the bathroom? Like, what are we gonna put guards in front of every bathroom to make sure that doesn't happen right now? There's no like, there's no censor on there to tell like, hey, you're not actually a woman. Why are you in this bathroom? Get out. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this is so fucking funny too, because like Blaire right here would obviously use the women's bathroom, but she hasn't even physically transitioned yet. And you're telling me like this same woman, J.K. Rowling, doesn't think that Blaire White should go to the women's bathroom? Okay.
Feel that way. However, it's clearly not any type of consensus if underneath all these tweets of people calling J.K. Rowling transphobic are full of trans people disagreeing. So why is it that all these woke trans
the facts
allies
disagree
have
with you?
convinced themselves that they know the one true narrative of being trans and they're going to defend it, even at the expense of trans people who are saying, no, that's not actually the truth. Y'all are clowns. Period. And then you
I had three, count them, three people that agree with me right now, okay? Don't even start with me. Also, I love how she'll recount the people that are being liked and retweeted by TERFs, white TERFs that are straight white women for the most part, that are fucking racist as shit as well. That's the type of that's the people that she's looking to and giving to you as the people that are like, well, look at them, they have a lot of support from the trans community. No, they don't. They're very divided in the transgender community. Buck Wild or whatever his name was. I forgot the name. Buck whatever. I know for a fact that guy is not there is not a consensus opinion upon him in probably any community.
You have this tweet, which I found from one of J.K. Rowling's friends who is trans.
I found another tweet.
I have to say this. J.K. Rowling is one of the most supportive people I've ever met with regards to individual choices to be whoever they want to be. The fact that she seems to continuously be on the chopping block as anti-trans is absolute nonsense. Give her a break. So does this trans person who is a friend of J.K. Rowling, does this person's voice matter? Or does George Takei and all the woke allies matter? Which is it? The truth is they're absolutely...
This is the worst. This is actually the worst argument I've ever heard in my life. Look, a transgender person said otherwise. What am I supposed... Like, this is like... Well, of course, like, you don't care because you're a grifter, Blaire White. But, I mean, this is like a conservative using you and your opinions on the transgender community as, well, she thinks this way about transgender people, or she thinks this way about this. So, I mean, she must be right. That's what all transgender people think, right? When you know you are a controversial person in the transgender community as well. I don't know what to say besides, this is probably the lamest excuse for an argument I've ever heard in my life. Well, if you look at this tweet over here...
is a nuanced conversation to be had about the fact that, yes, there are lots of parallels between trans women and biological women. It's not like I'd be in a room full of biological women and have nothing in common with them, or be even the odd man.
So, so you have a lot in common with women. So, like, people shouldn't feel weird if you're going into the women's restroom or the women's changing room or something like that, should they?
And out, like, no pun, I swear to God, no pun. Because the truth is I would be much more at home in a room full of women than I ever would a room full of men, obviously. However, there's room for intelligent, reasonable people to have a nuanced conversation about how there are clearly differences too. There are clearly issues that biological women face that trans women will never face, and vice versa. And if we can't have that conversation like rational, mature,
like having periods. Okay, like, what's the fucking point of this? I don't fucking care. Like, what does this have to do with, like, the arguments being made about her being a trans exclusionary radical feminist? I don't understand. What is, like, are you just stupid? Like, you don't, like, read into any of the concepts or arguments that's being had right now? Okay.
mature adults without throwing out words like transphobia, you're a hater, you're a what is wrong with you guys?
Also, you shouldn't be in this conversation because J.K. Rowling said, like, you're not a real woman. So, I mean, you're not even supposed to be in this conversation. Like, your opinion is not really that important comparatively to women. So, like, I don't know why you're talking. We shouldn't be listening to you right now because, I mean, J.K. Rowling doesn't think you are part of the feminist movement, which, I mean, you're probably not. I know for a fact. And you shouldn't be talking out about this because, I mean, this is a women's only space, so sorry.
This just jump to label anyone who has any nuanced opinion about transgenderism as transphobic creates way more backlash towards trans people than I think people realize. The conversation gets very muddied because people who are on the outside looking in at this whole fiasco happening, they really do think trans people are turning on J.K. Rowling and don't like J.K. Rowling anymore because they think J.K. Rowling is transphobic. But I want you guys, the next time you hear someone talking about how transphobic someone is, please pay attention to who is saying it. I promise you, I promise, 90% of the time, it's not even a trans person saying it. Because like I said, trans people go through hell to be who they are. Trans people have faced adversity. I've gone through a lot. I don't know why this narrative is that I have never experienced transphobia because I don't know. I don't know why. Why do people say that I don't experience transphobia or I can't relate to that? I have half my family who's disowned me for being trans.
Just
I think I know what transphobia looks
this.
like. And try as I might, and as many people are in my ear trying to tell me that J.K. Rowling was transphobic in these tweets, I'm not seeing it as a trans woman. And that's my genuine opinion. Whew. That was heated. Subscribe to this channel if you have not. I know you're going to watch 4 or 5 more videos. I know you've already watched 4 or 5 videos. So just subscribe. I don't have any friends personally, so...
It just keeps... It's just not stopping. It's just not stopping.
Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I post on there way more than I do on YouTube, and you gotta follow those to keep up with me. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.
People.
Bye, guys.
All these people. They're not valid transgender people. None of those could ever be transgender people because, in Blaire White's mind, it wasn't transgender people speaking out about this, as well as other people. Wow.
The majority of transgender community agree with me. That's why I have such a big conservative audience.
What a tool!